Hey, this is Buck Dharma of Blue Oyster Cult, and you're listening to the Sports Circus.
Welcome to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP Television. Today's show is brought to you by UppercutChops.com. Check out their tasty selection of all-natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Angus and Wagyu steaks and chops. Wait till you taste their best-in-class New York steaks, the filet mignon, and of course the king of all those gigantic cowboy cut and tomahawk cut ribeyes. Best I've ever had, probably be the best you ever have as well. Check them out at UppercutChops.com. That's UppercutChops.com. Or give them a call, find out what's for dinner. 714-948-0100. 714-948-0100. That's 714-948-0100 for UppercutChops.com. All right, a big welcome in to everybody listening in on our CBS, NBC, and Fox Sports affiliates from coast to coast, all of our independents as well. Everybody watching on Cox, Comcast, Spectrum, Frontier, Oceanic, Time Warner, Spectrum, Wild Charter, and independent cable affiliates in select markets. Thanks for joining us there, as well as in Hotel TV where applicable, and all streaming platforms. Right from the top of the show, Vacation Buddies is giving away a couple of nights right here in Las Vegas, or Orlando, Florida, or Branson, Missouri, if you know the answer to this very simple trivia question. Which of these NBA superstars won 6 NBA titles? Is it A, Michael Jordan, B, Magic Johnson, C, Larry Bird, or D, Kobe Bryant? If you know the answer, call 888-576-5777, 888-576-5777. That's 888-576-5777. Vacation Buddies is not affiliated with this station, but they want to give you a couple of nights with the right answer in Las Vegas, Orlando, Florida, or in Branson, Missouri. If you know the answer, 888-576-5777. Call now. All right. Getting into the NFL. And the NFL is a weird place right now. Just when you think Team A or Team B is going to win, it's Team C that comes in and steals their lunch money. And so we look at what everybody has to say in this grand scheme of things. Everybody has an opinion. And we say, you know what? What's relevant? I don't know. What's really going to matter is what happens right before the playoffs, because either teams are locked in or they're backing into the playoffs. Maybe they're so far ahead, they lose a couple of games going in before the first round, and they're just not ready. Mentally, they're not ready because they haven't had a tough win or something like that, something that gives them either a battle scar or something where they say, you know what, that was one of those defining games with a bunch of defining moments, and that makes a little bit of sense. So, good old Fox Sports has their Monday morning NFL top 10 rankings, and whether it's Monday morning, Tuesday morning, Wednesday morning, I don't give a damn where you're watching or listening. The reality is everybody's got an opinion. We're going to give Bucky Brooks his due on this because his has a little bit of value here. We're going to try to find the value, and that is starting with number 10 in David Letterman form. He says the Buffalo Bills have dropped 4 slots in their power ranking, and honestly, come on, Bucky, I don't really think that's the case, but we're going to go ahead and we're going to hear what you had to say anyway, because he says Josh Allen will need to play a superhero level to spark the Bills on a title run, and the reigning MVP lacks premier talent around him, which is true. And of course, outside of the running back, James Cook, and maybe defensive looks, I don't know, maybe defense looks a little bit suspect against some really good competition. Although those flaws make it hard to view the Bills as legitimate contenders, Allen's game-changing skills give Buffalo a puncher's chance against any opponent. Well, I think also there's that weather aspect. Buffalo doesn't seem to really play well until the weather gets crappy. So are they number 10? Nah, I don't know about this one. I would argue that the Detroit Lions should sit behind the Buffalo Bills. I don't care if they won their last game against the New York Football Giants. I mean, that was a lucky win as I see it. The Giants led the game most of the way. The Giants were using all kinds of cool plays, and they were playing good old smash mouth football. That's what the Giants do play. Anyway, Bucky says about the Detroit Lions, number 9. It's been a little clunky for the Lions recently, but their superior offensive talent can bail them out when things go awry. Although Dan Campbell needs to clean up the unit's overall execution, the Lions possess the one-punch knockout power every opponent fears in the postseason. I don't really agree with that because I don't think the Detroit Lions play defense. Do they belong at number 9? I think they belong at number 10. And it's only because the offense puts them there. It certainly isn't because of their defense. Now, Green Bay should be a little bit higher than number 8 as I see it. He says, despite failing to play their best ball to this point, the Packers are perfectly positioned to shoot up the charts as a potential number 1 seed. The defense can snuff out any opponent with Micah Parsons and company, creating chaos at the point of attack while utilizing vision and break schemes in the back end to take the ball away. And of course, if the offensive attack rounds into any kind of a balanced attack, the Packers can knock off just about anybody at home, possibly on the road. Are they a contender? Yeah, I would agree they are. Indianapolis drops 5 slots apparently with their loss to Kansas City, and he says Daniel Jones continues to show the football world that he is a game manager, not a game changer as a quarterback. Now, despite unwavering faith in his new quarterback, that being the coach, the veteran can't carry the Colts to big game wins without Jonathan Taylor playing a significant role. Well, you can say that about any team because let's face it, a quarterback needs what? They need a balanced attack. So, I mean, come on. This is by good old Bucky Brooks, an NFL analyst at Fox Sports. I don't know, man. I don't really agree with what you're saying here as far as, well, Daniel Jones needs Jonathan Taylor to do whatever. Listen, every good quarterback needs a good running back. It is what it is. Now, they've got the Bears at number 6, previously ranked number 10. Now, I don't agree with this. Now, the Bears, look, that's my home team, but the Bears have been damn lucky in many of these games. They found a way to win games. In fact, it was this week against the Steelers, this past week, that it was the defense that stepped up at the end of the game rather than blowing the game. The defense was pretty mediocre throughout the game until the very end when it mattered. And really, it wasn't necessarily about the defense. I think really what it was is that, let's face it, Aaron Rodgers wasn't playing. So you had Mason Rudolph in there, and you scratch your head and say, well, how the hell are the Pittsburgh Steelers supposed to do anything without their number 1 in there? Well, and this is what happens. If you don't have a good number 2 behind the number 1, then you fall to teams that you should beat because Pittsburgh should have won this game. They dominated the ball on defense, and honestly, they played good enough to win. They just didn't execute at the very end. And let's face it, the backup quarterback doesn't have the plays for him. It actually has to deal with, or he has to deal with, the plays that are set for the starting quarterback. And this is part of the problem with the Cincinnati Bengals on offense. Never mind the defense, if you know what I mean. But anyway, they say, or this guy Bucky Brooks says, it's time to give the Bears some respect as a playoff contender. Ben Johnson has whipped the monsters of the Midways into shape as a physical team that also displays pizzazz. With each win adding more confidence and swag to a group loaded with big play specialists, the Bears are quietly emerging as a legitimate threat in the NFC. I don't think so. I think the Bears are a couple of players away, honestly. They said that Bucky Brooks says the Eagles drop from 4 to number 5. Actually, don't strike that. Previously ranked number 1. From number 1 to number 5. And it's because of what? Because of a Dallas loss? Hey, every team lays an egg at some point. Give them a break. Anyway, the defending champions, epic meltdown. I hate that word, epic. That was like so 1990s, if you know what I mean. So the epic meltdown in Dallas exposed the team's warts to the football world and the offense's inconsistency, particularly the running game and receivers A.J. Brown lack of involvement forces the defense to play nearly flawlessly to preserve the actual lead they have. Now, in a league where most games are decided by 8 points or less, the Eagles' offense could be their fatal flaw as a Super Bowl contender. Again, this guy, sorry, buddy, you're smoking the funny stuff. There's no way. They should be ranked maybe number 3 at best or at worst. Seattle goes to number 4. Previously, they were number 7. And they say, and I would agree with this, Sam Darnold's impressive bounce-back performance should give the Seahawks confidence heading into a stretch run that features a series of heavyweight fights against division rivals. And with the veteran quarterback torching opponents with pinpoint throws to their receivers, the Seahawks' high-flying offense creates headaches for defense coordinators around the league. Yeah, I would say that, but also it's the defense that's really showing up too. Just like with Denver, they have Denver at number 3, up from number 4, so they move up 1. The Patriots stay at number 2, and the Rams move up 2 slots to number 1. The Rams look pretty damn good, got to tell you that much. At least on defense, they look pretty good. The offense, maybe they were very opportunistic in their last game, and they played a very mediocre squad in their last game, as I saw it. So are the Rams that good? They're not good enough for a number 1, but the Rams are certainly a contender. I'll give them that. I just don't believe that they are a bona fide number 1. The Rams are a playoff team, but there's a lot to be decided. Back here in a few minutes on the circus, maybe a little more football, but we're going to shift into baseball. Don't go anywhere.
Attention business owners, you and your customers are listening to this right now. Face it, every business needs customers, even yours. The Sports Circus is a primetime nationally syndicated program that's carried on ABC, NBC, CNBC, and Westwood One News affiliates, plus CBS, Fox, and NBC sports affiliates across North America, with coverage from Hawaii to New York. Also, the Sports Circus is available to the 180 million subscribers on iHeartRadio, and the Sports Circus gets about 4 million website visitors per month, which could click through your website and bring sales. The Sports Circus provides great content featuring celebrity guests from sports and entertainment to our audience every weekday, which your company could greatly benefit from by increasing your visibility, foot traffic, eyeballs to your website, and calls from potential customers. Call us right now at
714-948-0100. Again, 714-948-0100.
Or email us at info@thesportscircus.com. That's info@thesportscircus.com. Drive your sales today by advertising with the Sports Circus.
Do you know someone with a drug or alcohol problem? Get help right now. Insurance may cover everything. Stop the drug and alcohol nightmare. Are drug and alcohol problems hitting you too close to home? Get help right now. Insurance may cover everything.
800-831-1560. 800-831-1560. 800-831-1560. That's 800-831-1560.
Why pay retail for your next car? Just visit beepinautos.com to find your new-to-you car or truck. They find cars for people, even when cars are hard to find. So just go to beepinautos.com and click on Find Me a Car, and they find your perfect car on the wholesale market. Beepinautos.com. They're a car concierge. Beepinautos.com. BEEPIN autos.com. Beepinautos.com. Now you have a friend in the car business when you need it most. Trusted since 2013. Just click Find Me a Car at beepinautos.com.
That's the sound of sizzling, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks from UppercutChops.com. Their best-in-class filet mignons, New York steaks, and the king of all steaks, the tomahawk and cowboy cut ribeyes are the best in the business. Even their Prime Wagyu burgers will likely be the best you've ever had. Browse the full selection of steaks and chops at UppercutChops.com from the comfort of your home or on your mobile device. UppercutChops.com delivers all-natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks and chops directly to your door, without the hassle of going to the grocery store and fight crowds to pick from a small selection of average at best meats with injected steroids, fillers, and coloring added to look good. Find out what's for dinner at UppercutChops.com or call 714-948-0100. 714-948-0100. 714-948-0100. Or make your selection directly at UppercutChops.com.
to the Sports Circus. I'm Roy Firestone. Time to throw it back to Sal.
Thank you, Roy, and welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster, Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP Television. This segment brought to you in part by our friends over at the College of Southern Nevada Athletics. Check them out at csncoyotes.com for upcoming games and events. That's the College of Southern Nevada Athletics. Check them out at csncoyotes.com for upcoming games and events. All right, and a big welcome back to everybody listening in on all of our affiliates, including our friends over in Atlanta. Thanks for waking up with us on WDJY 99.1 FM. Thanks for driving home with us over in Auburn, Alabama, Montgomery, Alabama, Columbus, Georgia, listening in on WAUD at 7 p.m. That's home of the Atlanta Braves. Up and down the Midwest, out to the West Coast, those driving between sunny Southern California and fabulous Las Vegas right here. Listening in on Highway Country Radio, 101.5 and 107.3 FM. Thanks for joining us there. That's home of the Las Vegas Raiders, the Vegas Golden Knights, and the Sports Circus at 7 p.m. All right. All the way up the West Coast to Anchorage, down to CBS Sports 1500 KHKA over in Honolulu, home of the 49ers, the New York Yankees, and the Alabama Crimson Tide. Thanks for joining us over there, plus all of our cable affiliates and everybody streaming on Apple, Amazon, Audible, Spotify, Pandora, YouTube, iHeart, Stitcher, Deezer, you name it, we're there. You can't get away from us. And everybody else on Chicago Food Favorites. Check out Chicago Food Favorites on Facebook, a fun group. Talk about your favorite foods, your favorite restaurants, favorite recipes. Make some friends, have some fun. Chicago Food Favorites on Facebook. Now, in case you missed the announcement at the top of the show, for a free couple of nights, if you know the answer to a simple trivia question, we're going to go ahead and repeat that question and the locations where you get the free nights. So here it is. Which of these NBA superstars had won six NBA titles? Is it A, Michael Jordan, B, Magic Johnson, C, I'm doing that on purpose, folks, Larry Bird, and D, Kobe Bryant? I think you know the answer to this one. Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, or Kobe Bryant. If you know the answer, call 888-576-5777, 888-576-5777 for a couple of nights in Las Vegas, Orlando, Florida, or in Branson, Missouri. That's 888-576-5777. Vacation Buddies is giving this away, but remember, they are not affiliated with this station, but they want you to travel, have some fun right here in Vegas, Orlando, or in Branson, Missouri. If you know the answer to that trivia question, if so, call 888-576-5777. Call now. All right, in the first segment, it was the old power rankings. And I agreed with some of them, but as I look at the NFL standings right now, I'm going to start with the AFC like I usually do with the East. The Patriots are a solid 2.5 games ahead of Buffalo, but the Patriots may be a little suspect. I mean, look, they've won their last 9 games, which is pretty damn impressive. And they're outscoring their opponents by almost a 3-2 ratio. That's pretty good. And in fact, that's the best in the division. And honestly, it's probably the best in the AFC. If I'm looking up and down the AFC right now, the only other team that is doing a little bit better in that would be the Colts. They've scored more, and they've given up just a field goal more. So the Colts statistically look the best in the league for the most part as far as the numbers go. But the numbers don't always tell the full story. So go back to the AFC East. The Patriots looking good at 10-2, while the Bills are 2.5 behind them. Miami is, again, just a real head scratcher. They've won their last 2, but they're only 4-7. So the best they could do is 10-7. The Patriots already have 10 wins. So the Jets have an enormous hill to climb. I'm sorry, well, the Dolphins have an enormous hill to climb. The Jets, forget it. You're flushed down the toilet. Over in the AFC North, and the cream has risen to the top. And it's the Ravens now leading the AFC North after a terrible start. I mean, let's face it, they were 1-5. Now they're 6-5. You know why? Because they're healthy. They got the quarterback back, and they're playing with confidence. And this is the Ravens team that you would expect to be there. The Steelers, they are 6-5 as well, but the tiebreaker goes to Baltimore. The abysmal 3-4 teams in the AFC North, the Bengals and the Browns, with the same colors and historically same owner way back in the day. That's why I have the same colors. At least the same orange. If you look at what these teams have done, you scratch your head and say, between them, they are 6-16. And that not only is laughable, but it's an abomination. And there's the bomb. Look, these teams are really bad in two different ways, too. And we could spend a whole week talking about them, but we're not going to anymore. AFC South. It is the Colts. They still lead the division by 1 game. But I've been saying it all along this season. I've been saying Jags, Jags, Jags. You know why? The Jags are essentially healthy minus their rookie two-way player. And he's not even a star. He's just a two-way player. But the Jags are a very good team. This is the team they drafted back when they got Trevor Lawrence and ETN and whatnot. These guys are good. And they're, of course, scoring more than they're giving up. But this is a quality squad. They win at home. They win on the road. They win within the conference. And, well, they're tied in the division. They've only played 2 games in the division. But the point is, they are playing good ball. And by the way, when the Texans get healthy, the Texans arguably are the best team in that division. However, and the defense is phenomenal. Their defense is leaps and bounds better than anybody else in that division. And if you actually look throughout the entire AFC, you'd say, well, what do you know? It's the Texans' defense that is the best in the business. That's right, even better than the Broncos. So that's a very, very good thing for the Texans. So you got 3 teams that are within 2 games. So that's going to come down to very late in the season between them. We've already had 11 games played, and it's really tight over there except for the Titans, because the Titans, those guys, that's right, are 1-10. 1-10. That's right. It's the worst in football. In the AFC West, it is the Broncos, 2 games over the Chargers, the Superchargers, because the Broncos played defense. The Chargers fell asleep at the wheel on defense. But they do play well on the road, and they play well at home, and within the conference, and in the division. The Chargers are 3-0, the only team 3-0. So they've got tiebreaker stuff going on there too. The Chiefs sit 1 game behind the Chargers at 6-5, and they're 3 games out of first. Chargers are 2 games out. So we'll see what happens there, because the Chargers still have to play the Broncos again, and we'll see what happens there. Over the NFC, it's the Eagles still with a 2.5 game lead over Dallas. And the Eagles are going to run away with that division. It doesn't really matter. Cowboys, I don't know. I just think that somebody has a little bit of money floating around, and somehow magically the Cowboys seem to win a game here and there just to keep themselves relevant. Washington, on the other hand, there's no explanation of what's going on there. Oh, that's right. Maybe a couple of injuries here and there. I mean, they've lost their last 6. That is terrible. And the Giants, they're in the toilet at 2-10. Over the NFC North, it's the Bears, a half a game over Green Bay. So a nice round of applause for the Bears. Yes! Green Bay 7-3-1. The Bears are 8-3. Detroit 7-4. You'd think Detroit would win this division because of the way they've been playing, but no, it is the Chicago Bears. And then the Vikings, a real head scratcher, at 4-7. They lost their last 3. They were 4-4. I just don't know what the hell's going on over there in Minnesota. In the NFC South, the Buccaneers really dealt a bad hand in the Sunday night game with the injury to Baker Mayfield against the Rams. And boy, that was ugly too. So I don't think Baker's going to play the rest of the season, in my opinion. Even though they're a half a game ahead of the Panthers. The Panthers are 6-6. The Bucs are 6-5. I think the Bucs are going to have their hands full unless they can find somebody to plug the dam. And Teddy Bridgewater was the guy that came in for Baker Mayfield. And Teddy Bridgewater, sorry, he should have stayed retired, in my opinion. There are other guys that are better. And the Saints are in the toilet at 2-9, and they're not going anywhere. Over the NFC West, finally, it's the Rams 9-2. Seattle 8-3. San Francisco 8-4. San Francisco sits 2 games behind the Rams. Seattle is they're 1 game behind the Rams. So, I mean, look, that's really tight. And even the last place team, the Cardinals, they're not a very good team as far as the numbers go, but this is a team that competes. Yeah, they're 0-4 in the division. In the conference, they're 3-5. All three wins of theirs came from the conference. But the good news is that the Cardinals can beat anybody on any day. They can get lucky too. And so don't think for a second that the Cardinals are not a good squad. They're not just a pushover. No, they can actually win some football games. So when we look at the standings, the divisions, and you say, all right, well, what's going to happen here? We have this wild card thing going on. And is it feasible to say in the AFC that the Bills will make the playoffs? Probably. But the problem is right behind the Bills, because they're in the 7th spot, it's 3 teams at 6-5. Kansas City, Pittsburgh, and Houston. All 1 game behind. Well, let's face it, the Bills are in 7 at 7-4. The Jags are at 6 at 7-4. The Chargers at 5 at 7-4. And the Ravens at number 4 are 6-5. You want to talk about a logjam? This looks like my fantasy football. Anyway, back here with the NFC picture real quick, and then we're going to jump into baseball. Lots more to come here on the Circus. Don't go anywhere.
If I was your mother and you had a drug problem, I'd grab you by the ear and make you call and get help. You can be in treatment tomorrow and start to get clean in 7 days. Follow Mom's advice and call the Detox and Treatment Helpline now. Write this number down.
800-814-8628. 800-814-8628. 800-814-8628. That's 800-814-8628.
Are you or someone you love struggling with an addiction to drugs or alcohol and want to be set free from the chains of addiction? Then call Addiction Helpline America right now to get the help you need. From drug and alcohol addiction to dual diagnosis treatment, we provide a confidential helpline to help people like you get sober and live happy, substance-free lives.
Treatment helped me get my life back. I was so addicted, the only person I could focus on was myself and what I needed. I hit rock bottom and lost everything. Through treatment, I was able to overcome those demons and focus on my family again.
I used until I overdosed and almost died. That was the end of the road for me. After seeking treatment, I now have hope. I learned skills that help me deal with life on life's terms.
800-426-4994. 800-426-4994. 800-426-4994. That's 800-426-4994.
Why pay retail for your next car? Just visit beepinautos.com to find your new-to-you car or truck. They find cars for people, even when cars are hard to find. So just go to beepinautos.com and click on Find Me a Car, and they find your perfect car on the wholesale market. Beepinautos.com. They're a car concierge. Beepinautos.com. BEEPIN autos.com. Beepinautos.com. Now you have a friend in the car business when you need it most. Trusted since 2013. Just click Find Me a Car at beepinautos.com.
Investors, keep listening to learn how to get your free gold report. A currency crisis is upon us. The U.S. dollar has been the world's reserve currency for over 50 years, but that is changing. It's time to protect your retirement. Decades of reckless borrowing and spending have critically weakened the dollar. The U.S. has become the world's biggest debtor with over $35 trillion in debt. Plus, the dollar's become weaponized. Countries are dumping it. Investors who wait until it's too late could lose big. There is one safe haven: gold. Diversify your portfolio with a physical asset they can't take away. Call the Reagan Gold Group right now and ask for your free gold guide. Here's our number:
800-876-7041. 800-876-7041. 800-876-7041. That's 800-876-7041.
Hey everyone, Dave Jackson here, ESPN rules analyst on ESPN Hockey, and you're listening to the Sports Circus.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster, Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP Television. Folks, make sure you check out thesportscircus.com for upcoming guests, our prior guests, or recorded shows, which can be found on all those streaming platforms I mentioned last segment. Also, check out the partners page. Lots of great partners there. And one of those, our favorite, is Al's Number One Italian Beef, 1079 West Taylor Street in Chicago's Little Italy. 1079 West Taylor Street in Chicago's Little Italy. If you can't get over there for some great food, check them out at alsbeef.com. That's alsbeef.com. Read all about the creation of the famous Italian beef sandwich that is native to Chicago, created by the family from Al's Beef 117 years ago. They opened their store in 1938. They are the leader. They are the best in the business. And I can say that because it's my opinion and I'm sticking to it. And those are my friends anyway. Folks, check them out. It is really, arguably, probably the best sandwich you'll ever eat. All right, welcome back to everybody on TV and radio and streaming. You know who you are. Now, we're going to shift into baseball. And look, free agency, there's a lot going on. There's Ohtani's bat from, I guess, a big game, $300,000. Somebody paid $300,000 for a bat. More power to them, I guess, if they could do that. Whatever, good for them. And then, look, the Yankees are feeding the Bronx families to begin their season of giving. That's good news. All right, really good news for the New York Yankees. And, hey, if you don't like them, too bad. Evil empire sometimes, but they do some good for the people as well. And you got to love to hate the Yankees anyway. And frankly, I like them, so it doesn't really matter. And I mean, you got to ask yourself, why are the Orioles the most fascinating team of the offseason? And I think it's probably because they were such underperformers last season. And it was the Blue Jays that ended up going to the World Series, and they probably should have won the World Series. They had it won in the ninth inning of Game 7, but somehow magically lost the game. It doesn't really matter, but the Orioles were the ones that were supposed to be there. And then you can ask, well, hey, you got a lot of free agency. You got stuff going on here. What about some of the trades that have happened? And these are the things that, well, let's face it, when you look at the free agents that are out there and the ones at the best positions, the best free agents at each position, you start behind the plate with JT Realmuto. Well, that's a tough name to say 5 times fast. Anyway, that guy is good, but he's a free agent. That's right. And let's think of the battery. How about a starting pitcher in Framber Valdez from the Astros or Dylan Cease from the Padres? You've got some good players there, just right there alone, that are free agents. And what about a relief pitcher, Edwin Diaz from the New York Metropolitans, but you can call him the Mets. That's right, another good one of the better closers in the game. And speaking of the Mets, how about Pete Alonso? And Pete Alonso is one of those guys, maybe in the DH spot. And who knows? Is he going to come right back to the Mets? The Mets already made a big deal, so we'll see what happens. And how about Kyle Schwarber? Here's another guy. So Alonso could play first. He could be a DH. Who the hell knows where he's going to play? Anyway, you also have Kyle Schwarber. Like I said, Schwarber, I think he's going to take the money and probably go to the Cincinnati Reds, because the Reds are a couple of players away. They eked into the playoffs. They really had no business being in there. But I think Schwarber would add some veteran leadership in a state where he grew up. He grew up not too far from Cincinnati, so it may make a little bit of sense for him to take the hometown discount. Now, over at third, what about Alex Bregman from the Boston Red Sox? Is he going to return there? I don't know. The Red Sox were a quality team this year. What about Cody Bellinger? Arguably one of the best gloves in baseball still, and revived his career. And Cody Bellinger is playing pretty damn good baseball. He's been around for a long time, and he's still doing it, but easily one of the best outfielders in baseball. I think Cody Bellinger is one of those guys that could play every position on the baseball field. How about Bo Bichette? Now, is Bo Bichette going to return to the Toronto Blue Jays? Big question there. A very, very good player. And here's a gamer, probably one of the best gamers in the game. Another guy from the Phillies, that's Harrison Bader. He's very well traveled, but Bader's one of those guys that you want on your team. He plays hard every pitch, every at-bat. He's originally a New Yorker. He played for the Yankees, I think, a year or so ago, but he's bounced around a little bit. He's had his hot streaks. He's had some injuries. Well, let's face it, everybody does at some point. But Harrison Bader is a real good pickup, and he'll be out there pretty much on the cheap. And a guy who had a really big season, who's basically been an average player, was Polanco over at second base for the Mariners. Will the Mariners bring him back? Or are they going to go out and try to get that right fielder, Kyle Tucker? Because Tucker is a free agent, and the Cubs are going to lose quite a few players, I think. And they're going to be in big trouble. So they're going to have to pay Pete Crow Armstrong. Now, can they afford to pay basically anybody else? I mean, Shota took the non-qualifying offer. I think it's like $22 million, whatever. So they've got Imanaga for another season. But what's going to happen in right field when Tucker is one of those guys that you don't want to let him go? I mean, he is, I would argue that he's the best player out of the free agents right now, because he's a five-tool player, and you don't want to let the five-tool player get away. And the other player I think that covers most of that would be Bo Bichette. So there are some players out there that are sitting, and you say, well, what are we going to see with the free agent signings? I mean, look, we've already seen a big deal, and let's face it, Marcus Semien and Brandon Nimmo, right? So they're swapping teams. So Semien now goes to the New York Mets, and Brandon Nimmo goes to the Rangers. And for me, it's kind of a head scratcher. And even Brandon did not want to go anywhere. He wanted to retire a Met. I remember Brandon when he was playing for the Las Vegas 51s. I was going to those games back around 2018, 2019, right in those times. And that's when Brandon was over there. And he was a rising star back then. And I think he's pretty much in the prime of his career right now. And so the New York Rangers are getting that guy. And Marcus Semien, I think the reason that they're willing to deal him, being the Rangers, is because from an offensive standpoint, he's been pretty inconsistent. He hasn't hit for the average, and he hasn't gotten as many hits as he probably could. And Brandon Nimmo hits for better for average. He still has the power numbers. He still steals bases. So I think actually that it was the Mets that lost out on this deal. I mean, Marcus Semien's a good player, but it was clearly, in my opinion, the New York or the Texas Rangers that got the better of that one. Now, we also saw a trade between the Atlanta Braves and the Astros. The Braves acquired infielder Dubon, a very good one, and the Astros got Nick Allen. So they swapped infielders, and I don't really know what the purpose of that one is, because they're both decent players, and maybe it's just a little bit of a salary dump for the Astros. So, or I should, yeah, it could be, because frankly, either team, I don't think either guy makes a bunch of money. In fact, I know they don't make a bunch of money. So it really can't be a salary dump. I mean, maybe it's just a change of scenery and mix the bag up a little bit. But that trade, to me, didn't make a whole hell of a lot of sense. Now, the Braves also did re-sign Raisel Iglesias, and that was a really good sign. And, yeah, it was a $1 million or 1 year, $16 million deal. And you say, well, geez, the guy was 4-6, but he had 29 saves, right? 73 strikeouts. And his strikeouts per 9 innings is averaging, over 1 strikeout per inning. Pretty good. His whip is only 1.00. ERA not so good, but his whip is what's important. Strikeouts per 9, because if you're a closer, that means, well, you're going to get a lot of opportunities, but they're not going to be long opportunities. So if you're striking out over 1 batter per inning, well, that's what they need you to do. And so really, it wasn't the bad deal. The real head scratcher in the trade so far, trade world, that I see is the Angels trade Taylor Ward, and they end up getting Grayson Rodriguez back. Now, Rodriguez, you want to talk about a health project? This guy, I think if I'm not mistaken, he had either failed or it was one or the other. But there was either no report or no physical done or something to that effect, because I think the guy he's got some real potential health issues. And I don't know, I'm not him. But the one thing that I look at is, why would Perry Minasian make that deal? I mean, it just seems like the Angels are dumpster diving. And it's not because that's what Perry does, because Perry is a pretty good GM. And I think it's because Artie says, we're not going to give you any money, so go up garbage picking and see what you can find, and maybe you'll find a meal in there. And that's really how I see it. I mean, the Orioles end up getting Taylor Ward. I mean, that's a steal for the Orioles. Now, as I mentioned, Imanaga got the qualifying offer, the 1-year deals. The other guys that took it with Trent Grisham with the Yankees, which may change things up a little bit for the Yankees in their future. The Tigers with Gleyber Torres, he took that same $22 million deal like Trent Grisham and Shota. And the Brewers, Brandon Woodruff, also took it, a very good pitcher. So you ask, well, hey, was that a good deal? I think the Brewers and the Yankees got the best of that. Imanaga's a good one, but they're going to probably end up making a deal for him. All right, back here in a few minutes. More baseball on the Circus.
He could go all the way. 95
That's the sound of sizzling, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks from UppercutChops.com. Their best-in-class filet mignons, New York steaks, and the king of all steaks, the tomahawk and cowboy cut ribeyes are the best in the business. Even their Prime Wagyu burgers will likely be the best you've ever had. Browse the full selection of steaks and chops at UppercutChops.com from the comfort of your home or on your mobile device. UppercutChops.com delivers all-natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks and chops directly to your door, without the hassle of going to the grocery store and fight crowds to pick from a small selection of average and best meats with injected steroids, fillers, and coloring added to look good. Find out what's for dinner at UppercutChops.com or call 714-948-0100. 714-948-0100. 714-948-0100. Or make your selection directly at UppercutChops.com.
Do you own a timeshare? Well, face the facts. You made a mistake. You made a bad purchase. A timeshare is not an investment. It's a money pit that continues forever. If you use your timeshare, that's great. But if you don't and you want to legally get out of your contract, call my friends right now at the Timeshare Egg Line. They're an experienced team of lawyers who help good people like you get out of a timeshare contract that they just don't want. Don't throw away your money on maintenance fees. Use it for things you really want. We can help you end your timeshare contract and stop the money drain immediately. If you're ready to move on with your timeshare, call our team right now.
Cancel your timeshare now with a free call. 800-298-3173. 800-298-3173. 800-298-3173. That's 800-298-3173.
Owning great property is almost impossible these days. At least, that's what people keep saying. They don't know about National Premier Properties. Do you have $350 or a credit card? You can own a great piece of property in a resort community. National Premier Properties has over 51 years of experience helping people just like you purchase amazing properties across the U.S. and in Mexico, Canada, the Bahamas. It takes less than 5 minutes to turn your dream into reality. Visit nationalpremierproperties.com and make it happen now.
Why pay retail for your next car? Just visit beepinautos.com to find your new-to-you car or truck. They find cars for people, even when cars are hard to find. So just go to beepinautos.com and click on Find Me a Car, and they find your perfect car on the wholesale market. Beepinautos.com. They're a car concierge. Beepinautos.com. BEEPIN autos.com. Beepinautos.com. Now you have a friend in the car business when you need it most. Trusted since 2013. Just click Find Me a Car at beepinautos.com.
Hey everybody, this is Brian Urlacher. Welcome back to the Sports Circus.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP television. Folks, make sure you check out the store at the Sports Circus. That's right, there's a store. Pick up some of those holiday gifts, hats, hoodies, t-shirts, sweatpants, sweat coats, blankets, pillows, coffee mugs, travel mugs, mouse pads, you name it. They're all there with a clever Sports Circus logo on them. Mention Ringmaster Sal and get an extra 10% off of anything that you pick up from the store at the Sports Circus. Yes, a shameless plug, of course, for the circus. All right, welcome back to everybody, radio and TV and streaming. You know who you are. Now, back with baseball real quick. I want to talk a little bit about this Marcus Semien and Brandon Nimmo deal. And why? Because there are ripple effects in here. And you ask, really, which free agent is most affected by it? I mean, does this make the Mets a player for Kyle Tucker or even Cody Bellinger? Now that the outfield spot has opened up, that's the bigger question. So, look, trading Nimmo certainly creates a vacancy in the Mets outfield. And given that the widespread belief was that they were already planning on making a push for Tucker and or Bellinger, this deal makes it all but certain that they will try to sign one of those two. Now, for Tucker and Bellinger, having the big budget Mets involved in any potential bidding war has to be viewed as a positive. Guess what? This is the season of giving, so one of those guys, I think, are going to end up with the Mets, and I'm thinking it's going to be Cody Bellinger because he's already in New York, and all he's doing is going to a different stadium. That makes a little more sense. I think the Cubs are going to try to hang on to Tucker, but boy, it's going to be tough. Now, what really does this mean for the Texas Rangers for the rest of the winter? I mean, look, Texas is really trying to contend while getting younger at the same time, all while doing so on a budget that has some restraints, unlike the Mets. The trade will save the Rangers some money. Maybe over the next couple of years, Nimmo will earn $20.5 million annually through 2030. Not bad, right? While Semien will earn $26 million in each of the next couple seasons before his salary drops to $20 in 2028. So they save $12 million by doing it, which is really, look, I think in 2028 is the final year of Semien's contract. But Texas also gets $5 million in the deal, cutting down the commitment to Nimmo a bit further. So really they're saving, we'll call it $17 million. And I think they're getting a better hitter and a better fielder. And I think actually Texas won that deal. But you also have to ask, what else? Right? There's always that what else. So look, in the 2 seasons since winning the World Series in 23, the Rangers have finished with 78 and 81 wins. So let's face it, the Semien trade, which came only 2 days after the club non-tendered 4 players, including Adolis Garcias and Jonah Heim. I like Jonah Heim. What a hell of a player. Switch hitting catcher. Really, I mean, it could have been made with the idea of further shaking things up. Why not? And look, it's possible that Texas could have more moves up its sleeve this winter, right? Winter meetings. Though it remains to be seen whether those come via free agency or more trades. And you have to say it's probably going to come through free agency as I see it. I mean, what does this really mean for the Mets the rest of the winter? Does it have any impact on the likelihood of Pete Alonso returning? Well, now, I think the Pete Alonso deal maybe can be foregone if they get Kyle Tucker, because Kyle Tucker hits the home runs that Pete Alonso hits. And Kyle gets on base more. Kyle steals bases. Kyle has a big arm out in right field, but you could put this guy anywhere. He is a 5-tool player. So that's how I see it. But remember, the Mets president of baseball operation, David Stearns, wanted to shake up the Mets core a little following their disappointing season that just ended. And this trade certainly gets that going, and the Mets have mentioned their interest in re-signing Pete Alonso, so this trade shouldn't have much impact on that. I disagree. I really believe, and that was actually according to MLB.com, I believe that Pete Alonso could be foregone. And Pete Alonso may end up with a different address coming soon. Now, By acquiring Marcus Semien, the Mets have made more flexibility regarding their roster plan. So you say, well, does it make sense? I don't know. You scratch your head and say, well, what else do we got? And we also have to think about, well, Semien takes over second base, allowing McNeil to play left field or somebody else if they don't sign Tucker or Bellinger. But that is not going to happen. McNeil, he'll hit, but he doesn't hit like those guys. And McNeil doesn't throw leather like those guys. I think McNeil is the odd man out, to be honest with you, because they'll save a little money with that. I mean, him winning a batting title, good for him in the past. That was a couple of years ago. But, I mean, he has really fallen off as I see it. Doesn't really matter what I think, though. And so, again, this center fielder situation, it may shake out soon. But Semien joins Francisco Lindor and Mark Vientos in the infield, though Vientos could move to first base. Now remember, Bellinger can play first base, and they could keep the outfield position open for Kyle Tucker. And they've got the money and the wherewithal to spend wildly like that, being the New York Mets. So why would you even move Vientos to first? No need to. Now let him stay where he's at. If Alonso goes elsewhere, as I really believe he will, maybe Brett Beatty becomes the third baseman, Cody Bellinger becomes the first baseman, and Kyle Tucker plays left field. Now that may make a little bit of sense. Now one thing this trade did not change, though, at least currently, the Mets' need for pitching, which should still be a very high priority for those Metropolitans. I mean, again, a lot going on there. Now look, we've seen a couple of one-for-one deals of big leaguers in the last week or whatnot. I mean, still the Taylor Ward, Grayson Rodriguez thing, just big head scratcher. Is there anything to make this trend irregular? I don't really know. But here's what we do know. There's not much to make of the trend because it's still early. And these were just a couple of trades between teams that match up well. And I still think the Texas Rangers got well on the deal. But it's the Mets making moves, and I really believe the Mets are going to be very, very busy at the winter meetings. And they're trying to make deals ahead of the winter meetings as I see it, but they're positioning so they can go ahead and sign Bellinger and Tucker if possible. And they're going to need a pitcher, so maybe Dylan Cease changes address from San Diego to New York. Now that may make a little bit of sense, unless it's Framber Valdez. But I would think that Dylan Cease is the kind of guy that, look, he's excelled in the American League. He threw a no-hitter in the National League. The guy's good. He's really good. And so that's the guy that makes a little bit more sense to me. I think the mechanical issues that Framber Valdez has, as I see it as a former pitcher, I look at those and I just scratch my head and say, yeah, he's good, but I don't think he's Dylan Cease good. I really don't. Dylan was just right off the Cy Young voting a couple of times. And the Mets have made it clear that they want to improve their infield, which the addition of Semien does, because the guy does throw leather. That's for sure. And the Rangers were seeking a hitter with strong on-base skills. As I mentioned, that's what Brandon Nimmo brings to the table. Yeah, maybe fallen off a little bit in the last couple of years, but this guy's got a track record of just doing that. I mean, the guy is, look, he is solid. The trade makes sense between the two, and it was just a baseball deal. That's it. Don't read anything more into it. However, there's still a lot to be determined for those Mets. I mean, let's face it. You go back, a dozen years when the Tigers traded Prince Fielder to the Rangers for Ian Kinsler? And then back in, 2019, if I'm not mistaken, it was the Marlins traded Zach Gallen to the D-backs for Jazz Chisholm Jr. Those are one-for-one deals, and they still, Zach Gallen fell off a little bit this past year, but Zach Gallen is exactly what the D-backs were looking for. The guy is a strikeout machine, and Jazz Chisholm played some pretty good baseball for Miami. He's played better baseball for the New York Yankees, but Jazz is very, very streaky as I see it. I mean, boy, when he hits them in bunches, but when he's cold, man, he is Arctic. So I don't necessarily believe that in the long run that the Marlins got the worse end of that deal, and I don't think they got the better end. I think it was just an even deal for both teams, but it's the D-backs that still have Zach Gallen Even though he's a little shaky this past year, Zach Gallen is still Zach Gallen. But remember, the Marlins have already moved on from Jazz Chisholm. And that, well, you could probably attribute that to Peter Bendix, in my opinion, the general manager, that, in my opinion, I don't even know why that guy has a job. That's just my opinion. I don't know why he is a GM in Major League Baseball. I just don't see it. Remember, on day one, what was the first thing he did when he took over as the GM for the Marlins? He shipped out the two-time batting title, two-time batting champion, and he said, nah, we don't need him. Let's send Luis Ariz over to San Diego, and guess what? We're going to pay the Padres $8 million to pay him. And Luis Ariz, not only being the reigning two-time batting champion in the American League and the National League, but guess what? He's also a very, very, very good fielder. The guy steals bases, and he's a gamer. He's the best leadoff man in the business today. He does it all. He hits for power, hits for average, throws the leather. He could steal bases. He does it all. He's a five-tool player. And so when you say, well, what about this team or that team? Well, the Mets are going to make deals, but the Cubs are going to be super busy. The Dodgers are going to do what the Dodgers do. They're going to try to plug holes. Remember, Clayton Kershaw retired now, and they still have the core of the team there. They'll make whatever signings they have to in a creative way. The Dodgers will be right there again in contention at the end of the season next season. But the Cubs will be busy. The Padres will be busy. The Astros are trying to figure out who the hell the Astros are right now. But I think the Cincinnati Reds are at a position where they're really going to have to make a serious commitment to Ellie De La Cruz. Otherwise, they're going to lose him after his rookie deal goes, and he'll go sign a $1 billion deal somewhere. Because Ellie is the most exciting player in baseball today. And this one goes out to Mr. You-Know and Colonel Bucky, that are guys from Ohio. But Ellie is really that guy. And if he gets better at hitting a breaking ball, Ellie will hit 300. And, well, if he's not playing injured like he did last year, he played half the season injured. Ellie will steal bases like he does. He'll probably hit 300. And let's face it, he truly is exciting to watch. He is must-see TV. And I don't really say that about anybody, but Ellie is that guy. That's going to do it for the circus today. I'm your Ringmaster Sal. We'll see you in 23 hours right here at your favorite station. Until then, so long, everyone.
Owning great property is almost impossible these days. At least, that's what people keep saying. They don't know about National Premier Properties. Do you have $350 or a credit card? You can own a great piece of property in a resort community. National Premier Properties has over 51 years of experience helping people just like you purchase amazing properties across the U.S. and in Mexico, Canada, the Bahamas. It takes less than 5 minutes to turn your dream into reality. Visit nationalpremierproperties.com and make it happen now.
Why pay retail for your next car? Just visit beepinautos.com to find your new-to-you car or truck. They find cars for people, even when cars are hard to find. So just go to beepinautos.com and click on Find Me a Car, and they find your perfect car on the wholesale market. Beepinautos.com. They're a car concierge. Beepinautos.com. BEEPIN autos.com. Beepinautos.com. Now you have a friend in the car business when you need it most. Trusted since 2013. Just click Find Me a Car at beepinautos.com.